Hello and welcome to this first video in my new magazine style series following what's been happening in my bird room each month. First of all, this is not intended to be a how-to type video, but just how I do it in my own bird room. And of course, August, that means getting most of the birds back into the main flights. I like to have finished breeding all of my birds by the end of July. What this means is I can get most of them back into the main flights and have a minimum number of cages for when I go away on holiday. I expect, like most of you, I need to find someone to look after the birds while I'm away, and that tends to be somebody who's not necessarily a bird keeper. So the minimum number of cages means the minimum number of problems. Of course, this year most of our holidays have been put on hold, including my own. I did, however, have 2 weeks off over the summer, which gave me a chance to build a new Halfflight for the hens. And indeed, I do have one hen that needs to be put back into the flight. She's just finished breeding, or she's finished breeding a couple of weeks ago. That's what I've just been checking on my database. But we'll do that a bit later. So closing down all the breeding cages left me in the position where I needed obviously to put the birds back into flights, and where was I going to put them all? Previously I've got one big main flight where I put all of the budgies, but this time round I decided that I was going to split the cocks and the hen. This was partly because I've got far more cocks than I've got hens. I think most of us have the same problem, I'm guessing. And what I found was, as I was moving the hens back into the main flight, they were becoming even more stressed by the cockbirds constantly chasing them around the flight. So given that most of them had just come out of the breeding cages, I didn't want them overly stressed. So I took the decision that I would build a separate Halfflight just for the hens, and that's what's behind me. Of course, with August, holiday season, as I said, normally I go on holiday in August and have to get somebody else to look after the birds. This year, with the lockdown position, my holiday to Greece was cancelled, and consequently I had 2 weeks in which to build this Halfflight. I'll just show you what it looks like in some of the bits and pieces. I'd say again, my carpentry skills aren't brilliant, so this is what I've come up with. As always, I underestimated the amount of wood I got, so I had to find some scrap wood lying around, or some extra wood that I had left over from other projects, but did manage to finish it. I'll guide you through it, what it looks like now. So this is the Halfflight where I've got all of my hens, or where the hens are going back into. It's about 4 foot high by about 4 foot long by just over 3 foot in depth. I've only got perching at one end, so as you can probably see there's only perching at that end there. A couple of reasons for that was, one was it meant that I had an area where I could feed from that wasn't directly below perches, and consequently getting fouled by the budgerigar waste, them pooping all over it. So that's why the main reason why the perching is all at one end. The other reason, it meant that I could have a door at the opposite end to where the perches are, which is down here. There you can see the feeding area as well. And that meant that my aim was, when I was going in to clean it and all that, the perching area would be free and it wouldn't disturb the birds too much. Unfortunately that hasn't quite worked, and they're still a bit nervous in the flight, so when I give it a clean out earlier, they were flapping around all over the place, and a couple of them came out through the door, so I need to have another look at what I might do about that. Fortunately all the other doors and exits to the shed were closed, so didn't lose any, thankfully. The door, as you can see, is at the lower end of the flight. hopefully this was the aim of this, was that the birds would tend to fly upwards. Clearly that didn't work based on experiences, but generally that's what happened. It opens outwards just because it was easier for me to make it do that. If I opened inwards, it would, I got the impression it would, if I opened inwards from the way that where the current brackets are, it would almost guide the birds out through the door, any that were coming flying towards me. If I opened it the other way, it would make cleaning very difficult, so it opens outwards. I do realise flights doors should really open inwards, however that's something I had to make do with. The other problem, which I've already sort of alluded to, is around cleaning. I was thinking about putting like a pull-out tray in order to clean, but this proved just too difficult for me to work out how I was going to do it. I'm sure people that are much better at carpentry than me would be able to. So instead I put a little bracket or a little raised area around the edge, as you can see here. This is raised slightly at the bottom there. And that raised area catches everything, and then I just go in there with a scraper, scrape everything out, give it a quick pull it all to this end, sweep it out with a dustpan and brush, and if need be I would hoover. It does mean now though that I've actually got somewhere to keep the show cages that I didn't previously have. What I think I will do is just cover this area with probably a bit of curtain or toweling or something, or maybe I will make some doors for it. So that there is the Halfflight for the hens, and there, so there's just a few of the hens there. So there are the hens there that are in the flight. I've still got one more to put in there, as you're probably aware, plus a few young hens that are still not quite old enough to go into the main flight. Yeah, well, that was my 2 weeks holiday rather than being in Greece. I'm sure I know which I would have preferred. However, it kept me out of the way of the wife. So this is the last of the hens that needs to be moved into the flight for the hens. It got me thinking actually when I was talking about moving this bird into a flight specifically for hens, that when I was a young lad starting out on budgerigars back in the early 70s, I did visit a number of breeders who were local to me. And they all seem to have separate flights for the hens and the cockbirds, if not all the time, at least for part of the year. And then when I came back into budgerigars about 20 years ago and went around a number of breeders there, no one seemed to keep the hens and cocks separate. And I know there are pros and cons to both, and I just wondered how many of you keep them separate and how many of you just put them all in the same flight. Please do leave comments below. I'll try and read as many of them, and if there are any questions I'll certainly try and get back to them in terms of comments. So this is the cockbird that this hen was put to, and I'm sure there's lots of people now shouting at the screen as to why I put this particular hen with that cockbird. I must have had something better, and indeed this wasn't the first choice hen for the cockbird. The first hen he went with, she took an instant dislike to him and spent the whole time, every time he got anywhere near her, fighting with him. So no matter how long I left him in the breeding cage, that wasn't going to happen. The second hen that I put her to, he took no interest in her at all, and I left him in, nothing. It wasn't that he wasn't in particularly good condition, but just showed no interest in the hen. So finally put him in with this one. Get a little bit stressed with all the other birds shouting, I think. So finally put her in with this one, and actually despite it appearing every time I was in looking at them, him showing no interest, she went to nest 2 rounds, 2 chicks successfully weaned in the first round, and 1 chick successfully weaned in the second round. As you can see, she's a normal dark green, and I'll show you the chicks that she produced, so the young that she produced, and you'll see that they are all blues, which means she must be split for blue. And being dark, she can either carry the dark green or the dark factor on the non-mutated green gene, or she can carry the dark factor on the mutated blue gene, and depending on which sorry, I should have said chromosome there, so depending on which chromosome she carries them on, both those 2 genes on, will depend on the type of birds she produces, and will depend on whether she's a type 1 or type 2. Type 1 means the dark factor is carried on the same chromosome as the non-mutated green gene, and a type 2 is where the dark factor is carried on the mutated blue gene. So if you want to know more about that, I'll put a link at the end of the video to a video I did around gene linkage, and also there's a link in the description to my guide to colour genetics in budgerigars. So what I'll do now is I'll put up the 3 chicks and have a brief discussion about whether we think she's a type 1 or a type 2. So here are the 3 youngsters. As you can see, we've got on the left hand side, I'll just see if I can zoom in a little bit. So that one there, not very happy, they've just been moved from one of the cages, so still a bit stressed. That is a light blue, normal light blue. Although it looks a bit darker in here, but actually it is definitely a normal light blue. That was off the first round. Also off the first round is this opaline sky blue, which is also dominant pied, and I believe cinnamon. Looking at the feet. So neither of those 2 birds inherited the dark factor of the green. Behind it is the youngest of all the birds, and I'll just see if I can get a better view of him. I'll see if I can move the camera a little bit and get a slightly better view, because this one is confusing me a wee bit. So there's a slightly better view of this yellow face. So yellow face mutant 1, as Dad is. Originally I thought this bird was a cobalt. It's definitely not a normal light blue, however, and it's not showing up very well in the video, but the colour is almost I suppose almost got a greyish tinge to it, and I'm just wondering whether actually it might be carrying a violet gene. And again, I'm not really sure, so if anybody's got any views on this bird, I'll see if I can get a nice close-up of him. And again, I'm not sure whether the colour's coming out particularly well in the video, but so it's either a cobalt, or just maybe it's a light blue with carrying the violet gene. I need to do a little bit more looking at this, in which case it means that the hen is a green violet rather than or is a green carrying the violet gene. Unfortunately, I don't have full full details of the parenthood of the green hen. So I know what the parents were, but I don't know what their parents were, so I wouldn't know whether it was carrion violet. So anyway, in the comments, leave your views. And as only one of them is possibly cobalt, carrying the dark factor, which I'm beginning to doubt myself anyway, that might give you a better view of all three of them. And the other two are definitely light blues. My instinct would tell me that the green hen is a type 1. Well, before I put the hen back in the flight, I like to give them a quick check over, make sure that they're okay. And the final thing I like to do is to give them a treatment of spot on. You can see it just down on the table there. What I would say, this is just my experience, is when you're doing this particular hen's not too bad, but when you're doing this, particularly with the hens, make sure you're prepared and you've got the lid off the spot on, because you can guarantee that when you're trying to get the lid off and you're holding the bird in your hand, she'll grab a great deal of flesh. So I'll just give her the spot on treatment. And what I try to do is to just get behind the back of the neck here, a little bit of flesh, and then just dab a single bit on there. Give it a little rub in, and she can now go back into the flight with the other hens. So that's hen back into the main flight, almost finished here in August. I'm conscious that we didn't, in this video so far, I've not shown you any of the finches. I did have a bit of success in August with the zebra finches. They've managed to pull off their second round of 4 youngsters. Got some pictures of them coming up on the screen now. So most of the youngsters look to me to be just normal. I would honestly say that I am not very good at all at the various mutations on zebra finches. I understand most of the budgerigars, but the zebra finch mutations I am still learning. So there are 2, one of which is the parent of all of them. I think it's the cockbird of all of them, which has a very light coloured back, seems to have almost a brown coloured back compared with the others. And one of the youngsters is a sort of white and grey colour. You can see him in this picture now, or her in this picture now. I have no idea what either of those mutations are, so if any zebra finch people out there happen to be watching the video, please let me know in the comments what you think the 2 are. And also it'd be really handy if someone could guide me in the direction of a decent book around zebra finch mutations and zebra finch breeding in general, particularly in terms of if I wanted to breed some exhibition ones. So particularly anything that might be available on eBay. I'm not necessarily looking for anything brand new, but any book that might be on eBay. So that just about brings me to the end of the video for August. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do leave a like, and don't forget you can comment on anything that was in the video. And if you did, like I say, if you want to see more of them, then please don't forget you can subscribe, and for early notifications hit the bell. September for me, just a quick look forward, in September for me it's all about cleaning the various breeding cages, so getting those all down, cleaning the breeding cages, giving the nest boxes a thorough disinfect, and then assessing the budgerigars ready to look to pair down towards the end, pair back down towards the end of September, beginning of November. So that's what will be in the video in September. Like I say, hope you enjoy it, and all I can say is please all stay safe and enjoy those birds.